What's up? How we doing, guys? Monday, getting the video out a day early this week because I'm on top of things, so that's nice. This week we are in Unit 26, Session 1. So Unit 26, Session 1. Hopefully everybody's on the same lesson this week. I think that over the past 4 weeks, you had some people started at certain places, other people started at others, but hopefully we are all starting Unit 26 together, and we are going to be in Session 1. So we're in Luke 19, verses 35 through 46 this week, and we have an interesting passage. It's kind of a tough passage, but it's so good, and a lot for us to learn. And I think there's really two things that we're to learn in this week's lesson. One of them being about ourselves and one of them being about God. So let's get into it. So again, Unit 26, Session 1, Jesus enters Jerusalem. And if you look at this kind of enters that final segment of Jesus' teaching / miracle working type ministry. You know, he's not that far away from the cross. He enters in and everybody praises him. That fulfills prophecy. That was something that had been prophesied long ago, that when he entered the city, he would be praised as a king. And most people did. And that's like what you want. Like you read it and you're like, people are finally getting who this Jesus guy is. But then also you have a group called the Pharisees. Obviously you're familiar with them. They were like Jesus's greatest enemy. And they, of course, were not praising him. And Jesus says, if they don't praise me, then the rocks and the stones are going to cry out and praise me. Basically saying, like, I'm going to be praised. You know, there's nothing that can happen. Like, I'm going to be praised because I'm the Son of God. You know, he's deserving of all of our praise. And I think we notice something here, like, and this is what we notice about ourselves. Like, we were created to worship. Like, that is our chief function, is to worship something. Now, the way God designed us, like to please God, we're to worship him. And, you know, like in the garden before Genesis 3, that was what Adam and Eve did. They worshiped God. But we know what sin does. It comes and distorts things, and it changes our priorities. It perverts the way that the good things that God created, it perverts them, and we do them in different ways. And so you have a lot of people that worship themselves, a lot of people that worship a relationship, a lot of people that worship a hobby. The list goes on and on. You guys know this, that we are made to worship, but we don't always place that worship in the right place, right? We're all designed in a unique and distinct way to worship, right? We understand that about ourselves. But one of the biggest things that sticks out to me, and you can go a lot of different places with this, but Jesus begins to weep over the city of Jerusalem. Now, it may seem obvious to us that he might be weeping over his death, right? I mean, the cross was not this thing that he didn't know was coming. I mean, he's God. Like, he has perfect knowledge. He knew the cross was going to be the way in which he would have to redeem humanity. I mean, imagine that. Like, living your whole life, living perfectly, living around people that are so imperfect, and you understand that you're going to have to die for them. Like, there's no justice in that. Not for you. It's for the people around you. Like, they're being paid, their sins are being paid for. But man, that would be tough. But that's why God did it, not any of us, right? But I love what your teaching plan says on page 44, I think it is. Yeah, in your packet, it's page 44. It says, not only is Jesus the God who receives worship from his people, but he is also the God who weeps for his people. The fact that he is jealous for us, jealous for our affection, blows my mind. You know, like, I mean, like, why does God need me? Like why does God want me? Excuse me, like, he doesn't need me, but why does he want me to worship him? Why does he want me to adore him above all else? It's because he has that relationship with us, and he desires the praise of his people. He desires us. He cares for us, because praising God is ultimately what's best for us, right? And at the end of the day, all these things we chase after, they're so worthless, and they don't mean anything. Okay, I'm going a little long here, but I did want to get to the part of, like, why he's weeping, right? It's not about the cross. But it's actually about the destruction of the city that's going to come one day. And not only is he praying over their spiritual depravity, but he's praying what's going to happen because of their spiritual depravity. Like in AD 70, about 40 years later than the time that Jesus is weeping over the city, Rome is going to destroy Jerusalem. Many people are going to die. Not one stone will be left unturned. He was right. Like, it was destroyed. And so he is praying over the future destruction of this nation, this city. And man, if that does not resonate with us right now, not that I'm getting into any of that, but that's just the thing of like when people turn away from God, when people resist God, and when people run away from him and start pursuing all sorts of evil and terrible things, you can't expect a nation like that to thrive. You can't expect a nation that rejects God to be a nation that thrives. And if there's any reason for us to be praying for our country right now, it's that man, we would turn from our wicked ways and turn to him. Because, like God's one day judgment will come, So to wrap up this passage, and I really am going long. I'm so sorry. You're probably so done with watching this by now. But one of the things I want to end with is like, when he storms the temple at the end, when he turns over the tables, he's really so upset because this worship that is good and is right and is just has been perverted by all these vendors selling animals and sacrifices and whatnot. And it's just a picture of the spiritual depravity of Israel in that day. And so I pray that as you teach this Sunday, this is something you're able to communicate to students like, hey, you are designed to worship, but also you were designed to worship the right thing. And when we're worshiping the wrong thing, there's so many consequences that come from that. All right. Thank you guys for listening to this long video. And thank you guys for teaching. We'll see you Sunday.